In the dim, smoke-filled map room of a requisitioned chateau near Ziegenberg, Germany, on the evening of December the 26th, 1944, the atmosphere was thick with the scent of stale coffee, cigarette smoke, and the unmistakable tang of defeat. Field Marshal Gerd von Rundstedt, the aging commander-in-chief of the Western Front, stood hunched over the enormous situation map, his fingers tracing the narrow corridor that American tanks had just punched through to the besieged town of Bastogne. His face, usually a mask of aristocratic calm, was etched with grim lines of resignation. Beside him, Field Marshal Walter Modell, the hard-driving commander of Army Group B, paced like a caged wolf, his boots thudding against the wooden floor. General Hasso von Manteuffel, the sharp-minded leader of the 5th Panzer Army, leaned against the wall, arms crossed, staring at the map, as if willing the Red Arrow's German advances to hold their ground. For 10 days, the Ardennes offensive, Hitler's desperate last gamble, had rolled forward under the cover of fog, snow, and surprise. Panzer divisions had carved a massive bulge into the Allied lines, pushing west toward the Meuse River and the vital port of Antwerp. The plan had been audacious: split the Anglo-American front, seize the Allies' main supply hub, and force a negotiated peace. But now, that dream was cracking like thin ice under a tank track. It was Patton. That aggressive American bulldog, George S. Patton, had done the impossible. In less than 48 hours, he had pivoted his entire Third Army, 3 full divisions, thousands of tanks and trucks, 90 degrees northward through snow-choked roads and freezing mud. On the afternoon of December 26th, lead elements of the 4th Armored Division, Sherman's roaring infantry charging, had smashed through the German ring around Bastogne from the south. The siege was broken. The 101st Airborne Division, the battered bastards of Bastogne, who had held the crossroads town against overwhelming odds, were no longer isolated. Supplies poured in, wounded were evacuated, and the road network that Manteuffel's panzers desperately needed remained contested. Von Rundstedt broke the silence first, his voice low and measured, almost weary. Gentlemen, the offensive has reached its high water mark and it is receding. Bastogne was the keystone. Without it, our armor cannot flow freely westward. Patton has seized the initiative. The weather is clearing. Soon the Jabos, Allied fighter bombers, will return in force. We must face facts. Antwerp is beyond reach. The Führer's grand vision has become a trap of our own making. Model stopped pacing, slammed his fist on the table, and glared at the map. He had opposed the entire operation from the beginning, calling it a plan that hasn't got a damned leg to stand on. Now his frustration boiled over. This is what comes of ignoring reality. We begged for a smaller, more achievable thrust, to pinch off the Allied salient at Aachen, to destroy their northern armies piece by piece. But no, the Führer demanded Antwerp, the moon, everything. And now look, our panzers are starving for fuel, our infantry is bled white, and that damned American cowboy has turned his entire army around faster than we thought possible. Bastogne should have fallen in 2 days. Instead, it became a cancer in our flank. Patton's speed, it defies logic. The terrain, the weather, everything was supposed to slow him, yet he moved like lightning. Manteuffel, ever the realist, spoke next, his tone clipped and professional, but laced with bitter admiration. The relief of Bastogne is not just a tactical setback. It is the moment the offensive died. My 5th Panzer Army bypassed the town, hoping to mask it with the 26th Volksgrenadier and a regiment of Panzer Lehr. We needed those roads open to surge toward Dinant and Namur, but the Americans held. Those paratroopers of the 101st fought like fanatics, and their commander's nuts reply was no mere bravado. It was defiance backed by steel. Now Patton's tanks are pouring through the corridor. My leading elements of the 2nd Panzer are exposed, low on fuel, ammunition running dry. If we do not pull back soon, we will lose entire divisions encircled. The Führer must be told, the dream is over. We must go over to the defense before the Allies counterattack from the north and south. The room fell silent again. Von Rundstedt sighed deeply, rubbing his temples. He had never believed in the offensive's grand ambitions. I warned Berlin from the start. Our forces are too weak for such a gamble. The available panzers, the fuel, the air cover, none of it matched the plan. Yet orders are orders. Now we pay the price. Bastogne was the pivot. Its fall would have opened the way west. Its survival and Patton's lightning relief has slammed the door shut. The bulge we created is now a salient vulnerable on 3 sides. The initiative has returned to the enemy. We must consolidate, shorten our lines, and prepare for the inevitable Allied thrust across the Rhine. Model nodded grimly. And the Führer. He will not accept this. He will demand we fight to the last man, throw in our last reserves. But we have no reserves left. The panzer divisions are shadows of themselves. Our supply lines are stretched to breaking. The weather is turning against us. Clear skies mean Allied thunderbolts and Mustangs will feast on our columns. Manteuffel straightened, his eyes hard. Then we must act decisively. Recommend to the Führer a withdrawal to defensible lines before Patton and Montgomery close the trap. Bastogne has shown us the truth. American mobility, American resolve, American leadership, Patton especially, have outmatched us. This is no longer a question of will. It is arithmetic. We have lost the race. Outside, snow began to fall again, but the clouds were thinning. Somewhere to the west, American Shermans rumbled forward, their engines a low thunder rolling across the frozen Ardennes. Inside the map room, 3 of Germany's finest commanders shared a moment of unspoken agreement. The Ardennes offensive, Hitler's final desperate throw, had unraveled. Bastogne's relief was not merely a local victory for the Americans, it was the symbolic and strategic turning point. The Third Reich's last great offensive in the West had failed. From this moment, the road led inexorably eastward toward the Rhine, toward Berlin, toward the end. The war in the West would drag on for 4 more months, but the German High Command knew in their bones that the tide had turned forever. Patton's 48-hour miracle had not just saved Bastogne, it had saved the Allied cause and sealed Germany's fate.